This educational segment was developed and presented by professionals at the Kennedy Krieger Institute and the Brain Injury Association of Maryland for the Maryland State Department of Education. Hi, my name is Julie Gardner, and I'm an educational specialist at the Kennedy Krieger Institute. As an educational specialist, I have assessed many students after they've had a traumatic brain injury. I work as a team member as part of a day rehabilitation program for individuals with a variety of diagnoses and conditions, including those with traumatic brain injuries. I have worked for over 20 years to help schools develop educational plans for students following a traumatic brain injury. To understand more about neuroanatomy of the brain, please take time to review the first 4 modules in this program: Traumatic Brain Injury, Basic Neuroanatomy; Brain Injury 101, Outcomes After a Brain Injury, What to Expect; and Mild Traumatic Brain Injury, Common Myths and Facts. This segment discusses what to do when you have a student who sustains a mild traumatic brain injury, commonly referred to as a concussion. Students who suffer a concussion during their school years often experience a variety of symptoms that can last a few weeks to several months. This section will discuss the steps teachers and school staff members should take when a student has been diagnosed with a concussion. This is part of a larger series we are recording to provide information to those that may be working with children and adolescents who have had traumatic brain injury and strategies to help with their success in school and in life. Please take the time to review all sections of this series to learn more about traumatic brain injuries and the impact they have on students. While it may be overwhelming to hear that one of your students has sustained a mild traumatic brain injury, there are many things you can do to help support that student in your classroom. While it can be alarming to hear that your student has a concussion, it's important to think about the things that you can do to help. Make sure that your student services team knows about the injury. Help gather documentation and assignments for your student. While it may be true that some symptoms of concussion can resolve rather quickly, there are students whose symptoms last many weeks or even months. Those students need to be evaluated quickly within the school to assess what their needs are and to be closely monitored for changes in symptoms and needs. The teacher is often the first person the student or the family tells about an injury. While it's important for you to know about the injury, it's also important for you to share that information with your student services team. The student services team should begin by requesting a release of information to access medical records from any of the providers that the student has seen. The student services team may be called something different at your school. However, it should include an administrator, the 504 plan chairperson, the school nurse, and a representative of the student's teachers. The student services team should act quickly to obtain a release of information signed by the student's parent to request medical records from the hospital or rehabilitation facilities where the student was admitted. It will be important for your team to request the right medical records. Your student may have medical records, may have had a neuropsychological evaluation. Your student may also have physical therapy records. There are other forms as well. The Acute Concussion Evaluation, Individual Recovery Plan, or Symptom-Targeted Academic Management Plan may also provide valuable information about your student's injury and related recommendations. Your student's medical record can provide important information about the type of injury that your student sustained. Read that medical report to find out what symptoms your student is currently experiencing. Remember, many concussions typically heal within 1 to 3 months. However, some students do experience symptoms much longer than that. The medical report can also address whether or not the student is cleared to return to school and/or sports. If your student is cleared to return to school, check the medical record to find out what medical restrictions may apply. If the student is not cleared to return to school, home and hospital services may be appropriate. Following a concussion, some students become more sensitive to things like sound or light. Those things need to be taken into consideration when a student returns to school. Additionally, students may need to rebuild their stamina. They may require a shortened day, breaks during the day, or alternative scheduling as they continue to heal. As a student recovers from a concussion, they may have multiple symptoms that keep them from coming to school. Home and hospital services can be used as part of the program to return a student to school. However, research shows that students who return to activities sooner rather than later often fare much better than those who are on prolonged home and hospital services. Students who access home and hospital services for long periods of time actually experience higher levels of stress, which can inhibit their recovery. Being isolated from their peers also has a negative impact on students' ability to return to school. Home and hospitals should only be used in extreme cases for students as they recover from concussion. The neuropsychological evaluation will give an in-depth assessment of skills and abilities linked to your student's brain function. The evaluation will measure many areas of brain function, including adaptive skills, attention, memory, social-emotional functioning, problem-solving, language, visual-spatial skills, as well as intellectual skills. Neuropsychological evaluations often give valuable recommendations for classroom teaching for students after a concussion. Some students are referred to physical therapy to manage symptoms following a concussion. Symptoms such as headache management and balance issues can be managed through physical therapy. Unfortunately, physical therapy sessions may need to take place during the school day, which means more missed time from class. Teachers can help by providing additional time to make up assignments or consider shortening assignments if possible to allow students to complete them in the time that they do have. Additionally, students who are accessing physical therapy may need a place to rest during the school day. When students are seen in clinics following a concussion, there's often many forms that are used to communicate the student needs to schools following that appointment. You may see the acute concussion evaluation, known as the ACE, the individual recovery plan, known as the IRP, or the Symptom Targeted Academic Management Plan, known as STAMP. There are many others that are used in other school districts. However, many of them have the same components. On these forms, you'll see an area that lists your student's symptoms. You may find a section related to return to physical activity and play. And finally, specific physical activity restrictions are often listed on the forms. All of these together help inform what restrictions the student may experience while they are in school. Additional sections may include a recommended return to school plan. In this section, you'll find recommendations about how often and how long a student should be in school per week. Recommended accommodations may include how frequently a student does homework or whether or not that student needs a break. And finally, you'll find the doctor's certification. The person who's making the recommendation will sign off that these were the current recommendations. While no two concussions are exactly alike, the following slides will discuss some common symptoms found among students who have had a concussion. When thinking about symptoms following a concussion, there are four main areas that we look at: sleep, physical, cognitive, and emotional. Secondary to other symptoms, sleep is often interrupted following a concussion. Headaches can cause students to get less sleep than usual, which often can cause daytime drowsiness. Students should be permitted time and space for rest as needed during the day in order to maximize their time in the school building. There are often many physical symptoms following a concussion. Symptoms such as headaches, nausea, vomiting, balance difficulties, dizziness, sensitivity to light or noise, vision changes, and numbness and tingling can often interfere with the student's ability to concentrate in the school. Severe symptoms should be addressed through a 504 plan. Careful monitoring of symptoms is also necessary to help students who are recovering. Cognitive symptoms can often interfere with a student's ability to concentrate during the school day. Symptoms such as confusion, memory difficulties, and feeling generally slowed down can interrupt a student's ability to access the curriculum. Accommodations such as frequent or multiple breaks, shortened assignments, or alternative ways of demonstrating knowledge can be used to support students as they continue to recover. Students with severe symptoms or persistent symptoms should be referred to either the 504 plan team or the special education team in order to further assess their needs. Emotional symptoms are often overlooked following a concussion. Students can become more emotional or have exaggerated emotions to typical events. Staff working with these students should continue to be empathetic and patient with students as they continue to recover. Students who experience these symptoms may find it helpful to talk to a psychologist or a counselor. School staff members who are interested in finding out more about their student's concussion are encouraged to contact the student's parents and outside providers. Students who have persistent symptoms are often followed by a number of outside professionals, including medical staff, psychological services, and possibly physical therapy. These providers can offer valuable information about a student's injury, symptoms, and prognosis. Additional information can be found at the Center for Disease Control at www.cdc.gov/headsup/index.html. The Brain Injury Association of Maryland at www.biamd.org, or the Kennedy Krieger Institute at www.kennedykrieger.org.